Good morning. How many of you have ever got up in the morning, you went to put your shirt on, and your button popped off? I know it happens. It happens at my house all the time. I have 4 teenage kids, and I'm constantly finding shirts that have a button missing. Well, today, that's one of the things I'm going to tell you is how to demonstrate how to sew a button back on a shirt. There are 3 basic things that we need to talk about in order to sew a button on a shirt, and it's a very simple process. First thing you need to determine is your thread. What kind of thread are you going to use? How long your thread is going to be? Second thing you need to talk about is the buttonholes. Which buttonholes do you use? The third thing is how to finish that button. Once you've got it sewn on, how do you keep it on? Today I've got some a needle here that's a little bit larger than what you usually would use on your shirt, but we're using this size for demonstration purposes. I also have our thread, and our first point is how to choose your thread. What thread do you use? When you look at your buttons on your shirt, you'll determine what color thread you want to use. You want to use something that goes along with what's already on your shirt, so your shirt will have a professional look. Secondly, how long of a thread do we use? I like to use the measurement. It's called an arm length yard. Take your thread, pull it from your nose out to the end of your hand, and that's approximately a yard. That's about how much you'll need for you to sew your button on. Take your thread, thread it through the eye of your needle. As I said, I have a very large needle today, and tie a knot at the end of it. Now you've got your thread ready to go. You're ready to sew your button on. Once you have your thread ready to go, you're ready to work with your button. Again, I have a very large button today, so that you can see what we're doing. Number 2 is your buttonholes. Which buttonholes do you use? There are actually 2 different kinds of stitches that you can use to sew your button on. One is called a parallel stitch. On this one, you choose buttonholes that are parallel to each other, and you stitch back and forth across the 2 of them until your button is secure. The other technique you can use is a crisscross stitch. On this one, you use alternating buttonholes and making an X in your shirt. In order to determine which buttonholes you want to use, again, look at your shirt, determine what they've already used, and that's the procedure you want to use. To do your stitching, you'll take your needle with your thread on it, coming from behind your button that you placed on your fabric, coming up through the back, and bring it through. Once you have it through, we're going to use the parallel stitch today, and you're going to come back through, making a nice pretty stitch. You're going to repeat this process until you get this secure on your shirt, and then you're going to work on the bottom 2 buttonholes. Once you have your buttonholes stitched up and you've got your buttons secured onto your fabric, you come to your third point, and that's how we finish this off. We finish it off by tying a knot on the back of the button and then cutting off the excess thread. Once you have that, your button should be secure onto your fabric. In conclusion, I've showed you the 3 steps to a button sewing on a buttonhole. The first one is your thread. What kind of thread do we use? How long does it have to be? The second step is your buttonholes. Which buttonholes are we going to use? Are we going to use the parallel stitch, or are we going to use a crisscross stitch? And the third is how to finish it off by tying a knot on the back and cutting off your thread. If you complete this 3-step process, not only will you be able to sew your button back on your shirt when it pops off, but you also save yourself a lot of money because you won't have to throw your shirt away. And your mother will be really happy about that. Thank you.